Welcome to Vitality VIP's Wellness Elite channel. Let's start.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mary. In today's video, we will discuss smoking and its impact on health. E-cigarettes are a recent invention that has caused many controversies and even changes in the law. But what really happens when we smoke an e-cigarette? Although the first e-cigarette was created in China in 2003, it did not appear in the USA until 2007. However, by 2011, there were 7 million users, which is not comparable to traditional cigarettes, but still a significant number. By 2020, there were 68 million people using electronic alternatives, and in 2021, 82 million. To beat the cigarette record, an additional billion users are needed. But is it really a good alternative? Herein lies the first issue. It has only been 20 years since the actual appearance of e-cigarettes and slightly over 15 years since they appeared on the American market. This is not enough time to conduct and confirm long-term studies, especially since the market is not uniform. There are many types of e-cigarettes, and some of them differ from each other, for example, the insert. So let's take a closer look at how e-cigarettes work. Firstly, we do not talk about smoke but about aerosol. The so-called liquid, consisting of glycol, glycerin, flavors, and nicotine, is heated and thus becomes an aerosol. When inhaling, the atomizer in the e-cigarette is activated. Microscopic liquid particles are heated to a high temperature in it, and the heated substance in the form of a cloud resembling steam reaches our lungs. Its size is due to the addition of glycerin. Here lies the main difference between traditional cigarettes and electronic versions. There is no burning process, so there are no tar substances. Many other substances that appear in traditional cigarettes also disappear. Instead, we have propylene glycol and glycerin. However, many controversies have arisen around these substances. Studies have been conducted in which a group of 10 volunteers were exposed to a concentration of glycol at a level of 871 milligrams per cubic meter for 30 minutes. However, this did not cause any harm to the volunteers, but it is worth noting that the results of such studies are often controversial and not always reliable. Children are especially vulnerable to the effects of e-cigarettes. According to a study, the authors suggest that ethylene glycol is responsible for these effects. However, there is a study from 2009 that does not prove that the glycol contained in e-cigarettes has any carcinogenic or even genotoxic properties. The same goes for glycerin. As for nicotine, if we use so-called zero liquids, a liquids without nicotine, we do not need to worry about it. Higher concentrations may cause greater negative effects, such as headaches, nausea, blurred vision, and coughing, which are similar to those caused by cigarettes, because we are still inhaling something into our lungs, which causes irritation. Nicotine itself is addictive, and the nicotine in e-cigarettes is just as strong as from any other source, which means that constant vaping is a constant addiction and has health consequences. There is also a saying that e-cigarettes are a road to regular cigarettes, as they cause nicotine addiction. E-cigarettes were also widely used in places where smoking was banned. E-cigarettes themselves were somewhat of a grey area, and in many media, reports could be heard that they were being marketed to a slightly younger audience than cigarettes. In 2019 and 2020, there were many reports of the harmfulness of tocopherol acetate, which could be found in some liquids, and which negatively affected our respiratory system, causing a number of diseases. In 2020, there were also studies that concluded that more research is needed. However, a correlation was observed between smoking e-cigarettes and increased risk of asthma. In 2022, these results were confirmed, suggesting that e-cigarettes are not as harmless as many people would like to believe. However, they are still less harmful than cigarettes. The whole discussion is ongoing, and the final verdict is still not out. But one thing is certain: e-cigarettes are not completely safe, and there are still many questions about their long-term effects. In 2015, it was discovered that one of the devices could expose the user to a 4 times higher dose of formaldehyde than in any cigarette. This substance is highly carcinogenic. Additionally, other substances have either an untested or directly harmful impact on young people and pregnant women. Therefore, e-cigarettes are not safe, and the effects on health can be placed in the untested category for now, but with a bias towards harmful. However, e-cigarettes have one advantage: they help with addiction to cigarettes. There are studies that suggest that promoting e-cigarettes could reduce the number of people who abuse cigarettes and thus reduce the harm associated with smoking. Even assuming the worst-case scenarios of harmfulness, e-cigarettes will still be a better alternative to regular cigarettes, even due to the reduced risk for passive smokers. However, there are no obvious and unambiguous studies here. We can assume that since e-cigarettes are less harmful to smokers themselves, they'll also be less harmful to passive smokers. However, it should not be forgotten that they are still harmful and addictive, especially for children. A 2014 WHO report showed that some smokers will only switch to e-cigarettes, but on the other hand, the report also states that the majority will smoke twice. This will only increase the degree of their addiction and worsen the overall situation, mainly due to the presence of nicotine, whose addictive factor is comparable to heroin. And as we know, addiction is not a very interesting thing and is associated with a range of problems and consequences for a person's health. And there is one more, relatively fresh problem that emerged with the advent of disposable e-cigarettes. While cigarette butts are problematic, they are able to undergo biodegradation. E-cigarettes cannot. They are electronic waste that contain batteries and other metals. Are e-cigarettes bad? Not exactly. Are they good? I wouldn't say that. They are not well researched, but the substances present in them are harmful, although less so than cigarettes. This is one of those bitter alternatives that is better than the current state, but far from perfect. So we can count on further research and improvement of technology. If that happens, you will definitely hear about it. Perhaps even on this channel, so you have to subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you in next video.